Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, we are live.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. We have board members present, Ms. Baptiste Perez, Mr. Albert Benahan, Ms. Akeisha Casimir, Mr. Joseph Sokolovic. And if there are any other board members that have joined in, please let me know, because I'm using my phone this evening, so I can't see the other people that may join on. And we have Superintendent Dr. Levy David with us this evening. This evening, the item that we're discussing this evening is the superintendent goals for the district for the 2023-2024 school year. Board members should have received them within your, Ms. Rita and I put together a one-page document that just highlights the goals. Tonight is to either, look at them, see if there's anything that needs to be changed since the last time we talked. And then we'll make note of that. And once we do agree, we'll, agree to these as a group. And these would be the goals set for the superintendent and the Board of Ed for the year. So what I'll do is I can read through them and then we can just start discussion from there. So if you just give me a second, pull them up on my screen. Okay, so here are the goals that we identified along with the search firm. We identified the first one, which is physical long-term plan for the district, strategic plan, teacher retention and recruitment, community collaboration, and communication. And then under those goals, we listed a few different areas that will obviously be bundled in these areas. I believe the search firm, when we spoke to them, said that a lot of this can be covered within the strategic plan. But you all have them in your emails. So what I'll do is I'll open up the floor for anyone that may want to discuss them further or share any thoughts about them. And then I'll take notes just to, Adam and Dr. Levy and I can get together and put in another document and we will vote on them. So I will open up the floor for any comments or discussions. So I'm going to go by who I see on my screen. Ms. Casimir, do you have any thoughts, comments, questions?
Yes. I was just wondering if it is at all possible to put the goals that fall underneath the suggested, like the headings. Mm-hmm. Can we like kind of put those all under where they belong first?
Yeah, we can do that. This was just what we covered in that first meeting, so nothing is.
So I don't have anything to add or or comment on what you have here. I was just wondering if we can kind of like categorize them under their heading. It just helped me understand better.
Yep. So what we could do that as a group, because a lot of these were different board members' thoughts and concerns. So okay. I don't want to say where we want to put something if a board member who suggested it may feel that it goes in another area. So if we want, we can go one by one and then look at the bottom and see where these areas may go. And then I'll just copy and paste them in those different sections.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do on my end as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, point of personal privilege. Is everybody else getting that feedback and the choppiness, or is it just my connection?
It sounds fine on my end.
Everything's good over here.
Yeah. All right, thank you. I got a bad connection. Sorry.
Okay.
I only hear the feedback when Ms. Brown speaks, so it might be the fact that she's on her phone. I'm not sure.
Definitely could be that. I'm not on my iPad this evening. So let's do that. Before we do that, is there any other board member that wants to share any thoughts about them before we start categorizing them? Putting the different items in their sections.
We talk about going into where we feel we should be focusing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, then I have a couple of comments. Okay. Yeah, I think the strategic plan, putting it together in and of itself and presenting to us is a great goal, and that presented us because we haven't really had one in the past quite a few years, and progress towards completion of that would be a very good metric, in my opinion. And also, as far as big one always has been for me and some of the other board members is family engagement, increasing family engagement, and working towards that end. Now, that's not a metric you could really measure, because the result of if families don't show up, they don't show up. Because we all as advocates, we know that that we can't always get people to turn up and turn out when we want them, no matter how hard we try. But there are some metrics that could be used to show that efforts are being made and best efforts and such have you. Like in the past, we used the money as a metric to make sure all the schools will be in spending their money properly, and that the superintendents were on top of that, was making sure, because if the superintendent reaches out to the principal and says, part of your evaluation is spending that money, blah, 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 that was done. And I think we got that metric under control. So maybe we could perhaps find another metric to measure family engagement progress, such as maybe the number of meetings principals in their have with their PACs and school governance councils, etc., whatever have you, or perhaps maybe getting their meetings up on their websites, the school websites, some just shooting stuff out there. And then finally, as always, board member relations and such. And that's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Benahan, do you have any suggestions? I know he said he was going to be a little late, but I'll still call you.
No, I'm here, Madam Chair. Thank you. I don't have my note in front of me because I'm using my cell phone too, but don't remember right now in this situation, but I will forward to you tonight.
Okay. Ms. Baptiste Perez, I see two, but I'm assuming one of them is something else. Go ahead, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
No question.
Okay. So what we'll do is Ms. Casimir suggested we'll go through the ones that we have and kind of categorize where they should go underneath. But before we do that, Ms. Casimir, Dr. Levy David, what are your thoughts? I mean, we all kind of agree to some of these. What are your thoughts on placement of some of these items? Yeah, what do you think?
When it comes to the 4 suggested, I'm very comfortable with all of them. We embed some others underneath each one. So I think I would be able to give you a really well-rounded picture of the work, of where we are as a district. Strategic plan, absolutely agree that is something that we need to develop so that we can chart the path for the next 5 years and beyond. And the community collaboration and communication we know is essential to the work that we're going to be doing over the next few years here in the district. So I'm good with all of those, actually.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Traber, any thoughts? What we were doing was I was just giving board members an opportunity to see if, how they felt about the 4 goals and then the little bullet points under those 4 goals. Ms. Casimir suggested that, we start placing where those bullet points will go under those goals. So it helps to keep it more organized, which I definitely agree. And we're going to do that. But I want to give each board member, see how they feel about what we came up with so far from the last meeting that we met. You're on mute, sir.
Sorry, I think that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. If I'm off screen, it's because I'm using my my phone and just to read them. So I'm going to go to the document and I'll make the updates. And then what we'll do is, Dr. Levy, once we do this and we agree to them, then I'll make sure Ms. Rita has a copy to put on the website. And then also, you'll have it for your records as well. So the first one is the fiscal long-term plan for the district.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Bobby, but I just wanted to be clear. Is family engagement going to be another one of these bullets, just for my understanding? Because I can add it on my end.
We can. Here's the other thing is some of these things may go under the community collaboration / communications. I don't know. That's my thought. But
yeah, that's where I was thinking that it would go as well. But I just want to be clear that family engagement is going to be added onto this list. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
So the first one is fiscal long-term plan for the district. So I can't see you guys, but if you want to jump in, just jump in. And if we look at the bottom goals, I believe we touched, if you go to bullet point number 4, it says fiscal gaps in budget, procurement of funds. That can definitely be moved under the fiscal part. So I'm going to do that. And we can do it together. And, you know, if I mess up something, just let me know when I send the draft and I will fix it. All right. So we got that under there. I believe that was actually Mr. Gellin's point. The next one is the audit, the physical audit. That can definitely go under that bullet point.
Okay.
It's going to move that up under physical.
The fiscal audit, I would recommend that we not put that one under the long-term plan until we're able to determine whether or not we'll be able to have a fiscal audit. Because I looked at the bids this morning and no one has bidded for the fiscal audit. It's been posted forever. No one's bidded.
Okay.
So it's not fair to evaluate something I can't complete if I can't hire a firm, if that makes sense. And so we may have to go back to bid. We may have to recalibrate what we're offering for that bid. There are just lots of different strategies. I'm not sure. I think I saw something like 16 different companies that looked at the posting, but no one issued a bid.
Okay.
Yes, and to Dr. Levy's point, that's a very fair point, and even backing up a step to the other portion of the fiscal
gaps
portion with advocacy and all that. Again, that's something that really can't be measured by results because it's beyond the control of the superintendent. Because as you know, we've all been talking to with blue in the face at the state level, city level, and to varying degrees of success. So it's not a mark of failure should she not get a certain X dollars amount. But again, there's metrics within that we can measure, like maybe how many times she spoke before the state or reached out to different constituencies and the action she's taken to try to achieve these goals. So we got to be fair on our metrics to make sure they're not. I mean, there's certain things that may be results oriented that we can measure, but success at advocating for funds, success at getting parents. So those are the metrics we got to measure by basically efforts.
Got it. Anyone else thoughts on that? I agree 100%. But if there's anyone else, feel free to jump in. I can't see you, but I'm gonna.
Okay, then I would just concur. I think that's correct. I think that it would be nice if we could double our income, but I don't think that's realistic to expect anyone to be able to do that. So I think that the point that's been made is correct, which is the effort and the plans and the things that we try and do is what we're looking at, not whether or not we actually achieve, 100% increase in revenue.
Okay. Anyone else?
So having said all of that, what do we do, just from my understanding, what do we do with those 2 bullet points? Do we put them like kind of to the side somewhere else, or do they just disappear? Like what happens to them?
What I was gonna say, Ms. Casimir, we can still keep fiscal gaps in the budget, procurement of funds. Like I think that's fine. What are we aiming towards, the budget? As far as the audit, I think that could be put to the side until we've had more information and update if we're gonna go back out to bid. So it won't.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the word long term though. It says long term. So eventually they will, right? Hopefully be somebody that accepts that bids for it, and we successfully accept the bid. So that's where I guess I'm confused.
That's a good point. Superintendent, anyone?
I'd love to weigh in on that part.
Go ahead, Casimir.
Even let's say, for example, that we put this out to bid for a 3rd time and we still don't have a company to respond to our audit. There are still resources that we can use in order to ensure that our planning, long-term spending, is within safety bounds to ensure that we're not going to be in a situation where the district is not able to meet its fiscal obligations. So I would, if in the absence of having an audit, I would look for that support from the state in order to ensure that what Marlene and I are working on together and what we present to the board is fiscally sound.
That sounds good to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I agree with the superintendent. I'm sorry to jump in, but you said we're having trouble.
No,
with the
that's
hand.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree with the superintendent on that, and perhaps a more. I mean, that those things are beyond control. One thing we got in control that's under the bullet points. I don't have it in front of me right now because I had to switch over to my phone. The one where long term planning for the cessation of ESSER funds and depletion of the ISF funds, like long-term planning for that.
So are we saying that we want to add that underneath the fiscal long-term plan?
Yeah, because long term I would consider like 2 years and out, and it seems like the 2 years is kind of where it used to be with the drawdown of the funds, where it would start happening, where we would have to start getting in real trouble. But it's kind of a little blurry right now with the extra income coming in for the one, probably what's going to be a one shot. I think it's $13 million from the state, and then the one shots that we're spending down right now. So it's probably equal to that. So that would be a good long-term goal to make sure we can manage to smooth as can be drawdown of services or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how to adequately put that.
We could definitely work on the language. I'm just gonna put it back to the superintendent. Does that sound reasonable? And then I'll go back to Ms. Casimir because we went a different way.
It is, because I want to make sure, because I believe what Mr. Sokolovic is asking for is a projection for the pieces that we will have to address to ensure that we can move beyond having additional ESSER funds that we've enjoyed for the past 3-4 years, and have actually just our general fund, our state funds that we receive for our special programs. We're using those entitled funds as well. So that's something that I would put into a complete report in order to address, okay, so this is what happened under ESSER. This is now where these things are being allocated from, or whether or not these things we're projecting will have to be either changed, eliminated, whatever the case may be. So we haven't finished making that plan yet, so I can't totally speak to that, but I definitely understand, I believe, what Mr. Sokolovic is asking for.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, just to be fair and for clarity, we're talking about working on this through basically the whole school year, and basically you could have something before us. And as a further thought, when we say plan, I kind of think maybe we should have like a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. Like if we have this level of funding, if we have this level of funding, and if we have this level of funding, so we're not surprised by any level of funding this district gets. Does that make sense, Dr. Levy?
That is correct. And that is precisely what you would have. A plan that would be our preferred plan, and contingency plans should that preferred plan have barriers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so I added it on my end. And Dr. Levy, we can work on the language when we meet. And then I'll present it before the board. Now I'm going to go back to Ms. Casimir. Ms. Casimir, so now that we have just the two goals that we have is the fiscal gaps in budget, procurement of funds. That's one. That's a doable one. Then the second one is projection of ESSER and ISF funds long-term plan. And,
Okay.
we'll word that a little bit better. Is there
Fiscal
any
gaps? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
And
those
then-
are the only two.
And then the other one was, I'm sorry, what was the language for the other one we just added?
We just said projection of ESSER and ISF funds, long-term.
Projection of ESSER and ISS funds. Okay.
Yep. And we'll work it. You're going to get a copy of it once the superintendent and I are going to spend some time wording it, and then we'll present it back to you.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to put it down so I can have it down. Okay, thank you.
All right. So if we look back at our bullet points, that right there covers all of the fiscal items that was presented before us from board members. Is everyone okay to move on, or would we like to add anything else under the fiscal goals? Okay, I will take some.
Ms. Brown?
Yep.
Sorry, I know I just joined, but did we talk about a potential audit?
Yes, you
Okay.
missed that conversation. The
Don't worry
potential.
about it then. I'll go back and look at the notes.
Okay, what I'll say is we're gonna hold off on it until we find out if we're gonna actually have a company to do it. So right now it's in the works, but we don't have someone that has signed on to it as of yet, and we don't want to put that on the superintendent, knowing that things could change on how it's going to be presented. So,
Thank you.
okay. So hearing none, we're gonna move on to. So we have 2 for the fiscal long-term plan. And now let's go to strategic plan and see what goes under strategic plan from the bullet points board members brought up.
And
so
some of this might overlap, and that's okay.
Yep.
If it overlaps.
Yep. Yep. So I know from when we talked, you know what? I'll just take the notes. Anyone would like to jump in? I'll just take the notes. From the bullet points, are there any things on the bottom you want to add under there?
No, I think the strategic plan in and of itself, any progress towards completing it at evaluation step points would be a good, because that's probably a heavy lift, a lift that the district hasn't done in how many years? Since I've been on the board. The last time we had a strategic plan, I believe, updated was under Dr. Johnson. I could be wrong. I know there was some in works, but COVID interrupted everything, so it's not as just easy as just writing down something on a piece of paper.
Got it.
Now, I would like the board to be included in like strategic points would have like updates at, I don't know what meeting it would be, or if any committee presentation where it would be where we could get some input on certain items before the end where we approve it, where we get some a little bit of input and what have you on it before it's complete, like have the work in, and then for the superintendent to see that maybe the majority of the board wants to go in a slightly different direction on one bullet point, and then we have to have that discussion after she's done all the work, like just like just like a couple maybe guardrails just for efficiency purposes.
Okay, so right now, from what I've heard from the firm is like some of these items that we are addressing, like Ms. Casimir said, will overlap and will fall under the strategic plan. But what I'm going to do is, before I go back to board members, I kind of want to, and you may want to, I kind of want to know what Dr. Levy thinks should be included and see if that matches any of the items we put on the bullet points on the bottom.
I was just about to ask that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Levy. David.
Thank you. So, to be honest with you, a strategic plan would include everything that is in the bullets below. And a strategic plan is not something that I would do by myself. It's a strategic planning process that would eventually produce a document that guides where we go in the next 5 years. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I've seen them done, all different types with all different types of metrics and different term lengths. So the biggest piece would be ensuring that every single piece that is there is included in the strategic plan somewhere, because those are all pieces that the board has identified as priorities moving forward for the district. There are going to be other pieces in the strategic plan that maybe haven't been mentioned here, but overall, I believe that most everything that is in the bullets will be addressed in the strategic plan. And if there's a need to add an additional layer, for example, teacher retention and recruitment, if there's specific language for the teacher retention and recruitment as far as what data you want to see and what types of timelines you want to see for that particular data, that's something that we can also write into the language of the evaluation instrument. So does that make sense to everyone?
Definitely makes sense to me. Anyone else?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, but as included in strategic plan, but I wouldn't want to put all the eggs in that strategic plan basket as far as evaluation goes, because we could pull out those couple of pieces we mentioned before and as of itself, because as you like the evaluation, the strategic plan is that, like I said, it's a heavy lift. You may not get to all the parts and what have you, but having those little separate pieces, standalone pieces as part of the evaluative process would be more beneficial to all of us concerned, I believe.
Okay. Ms. Casimir, thoughts?
Yeah, I guess what I keep hearing is the strategic or these goals, like connected to her evaluation. And I don't know if I completely agree with that as far as the broader strategic plan, because as we're talking, I'm looking at Stanford's public schools strategic plan, and it's pretty impressive. Like, it has only 3 areas, right? And then under those 3 areas are like 2 things. One area has 2 things, one has 4, one has 3 or whatever. And then they kind of like line it out on the right. So what I want to do is, if it's okay, I just want to put the link to Stanford Public Schools strategic plan in the chat. And for whoever is interested in looking at it, I just want, want the board to, if you're interested, just to take a look at it. It's simple, but has everything engulfed, in those 3 circles. But other than that, I agree. I think that, maybe, I mean, since we're connecting it to her evaluation, then no, all of them shouldn't maybe go under there, because it's unrealistic, like we were talking about with the fiscal area. So yeah, I guess it's just something that we need to have more of a conversation on. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
May I speak to that for a second, Ms. Brown?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I get I apologize. Ms. Casimir's point, and it's a good one. But it's not the completion of the strategic plan that will be a part of the evaluation, but maybe progress towards completion and insertion. Not what's in the strategic plan per se, but just progress will be the metric. But the metric for the other things, such as the planning for the drawdown of ESSER funds, that would be a separate goal that's not as a heavy lift as the strategic plan in and of itself. And parent engagement that we spoke of earlier, that could be a separate metric that could be measured over a period of time. Does that clarify things and make you feel a little better about including that?
Ms. Casimir?
Okay, so for me, I think it's just best to like go back to the bullets that we have. So is there anything under these bullets that should go under the strategic plan? I guess that's what my question is, just so I can start moving things up to under the strategic plan heading.
Okay, so here's what I would say, and you guys let me know. One of the things that we are talking about right now is that parental support. So that we have that, as I believe that was Mr. Benahan's item that he wanted to add. That's something that if we look back, and I know you haven't, I don't know, yes, you have done it, Ms. Casimir. That's also a part of the evaluation part. We can see that in her engagement in the community and what she has going on. And although it's really a part of the overall strategic plan, it fits for an item that we can hold her accountable to. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. So I'll move that bullet up under strategic plan then.
Okay. Dr. Levy, how does that sound?
I'm still, like I said, I'm comfortable with it. I feel I've had a lot of time to digest everything that was discussed, and I'm fine with everything that the board suggested.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with any of the bullet points making it up under the other sections, is what I guess what I'm saying.
Okay. So then, Ms. Casimir, we'll add that parental district support areas. And obviously, Dr. Levy will flesh it out more. That's just a little header that we're giving it right now, but that will go under there. Adding it now. All right, so let's look back. Is there anything else we think can go under there that will stand out?
About safety assessment. It's just an assessment, right? Is that okay?
That was Mr. Gellin's point. I know he was looking at like what, so this was a combination of COVID, like health related items. And this was also a combination of our buildings and how we make sure our students are safe within our buildings. So I really can't speak to his overall point, but I don't know if that's something we would put under an evaluation point for her because it's a part of everything that she's doing within the district in some way or another, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But he would be able to speak better on what his ideas for that bullet point.
Dr. Levy David?
Safety is one of those pieces that for me, I would actually, I could spend an entire cycle just talking about safety. Because there's so many pieces now that we have to contend with, that we didn't have to contend with 10 years ago. For example, last night, and what happened last night, and checking in with leaders and making sure that everybody was okay and aware this had happened and what possible impact, communicating with the board, making sure you were informed, sending out official communication from the district. Those are all things that we could do a whole plan just on that and how that happens in the district. And currently, we don't really have a robust one. It has to happen. And I mean, it can happen in conjunction with the strategic plan, but those are both really big lifts.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll move on.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr.
May I?
Cipolla.
Yeah, I agree with the superintendent, especially as far as safety assessment and that. How do we measure that, especially in the light of COVID and these contentious times? Because that's something that can be really polarizing. For instance, it was really polarizing when we reopened the schools. For those of you who were on the board at the time and an employee of the district at the time, it was like, I mean, it could get kind of rabid because how do you say if the superintendent and 4 or 5 of the board members want schools to remain open and the superintendent wants to close, those 4 board members are going to say she did a horrible job on safety, and then the other ones are going to say she did the best she could on safety. So I think that's too heavy of a lift, and in these times of viruses and stuff like that, too virolitic, too contentious of an issue to have somebody's career based on, basically.
Yeah, so I wasn't thinking in terms of that deep. Like what I was thinking of was in terms of assessing each and every school, like, I don't know, having a police department do it or a security firm, whatever it is, having them assess the safety of the school, like the doors and how easy it is or not easy it is for people to get in. Like, I was thinking under that type of thing, not like COVID and all that other kind of stuff. But again, Mr. Gellin is not here, so he would be the one to like kind of delve deeper into that. So I'll put that up under the stuff that we're putting to the side then, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but if I could interject, my recollection is this was not so focused on that type of safety. This was focused on the health and safety aspect of it. So I think that other, while I agree that's important, I'm not trying to minimize that. I also think this other element was a part of this that was touched on, which is the dealing with the pandemic, the threat of a new COVID spread, and how safe are our buildings, the ventilation HVAC questions that are still not being dealt with. The state gave us $150 million for the entire state, which, as we know, isn't enough for our district. So I think that's in there, and that is certainly not, as I think Joe said a moment ago, Mr. Skalovic said, when we can't certainly measure the superintendent's performance on the basis of that, because the resources that we need to address all those issues are humongous. And
okay, we'll put that to the side.
be something, but it's got to be there. It's something we want to be addressing. We just aren't going to be able to fix it all at once.
So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Levy David.
But Ms. Casimir, to your concern, I do understand it, and I do feel that something needs to be developed that is aligned, and that every single leader is accountable for knowing, and that all of our teachers are very comfortable with implementing. And that's something that we can do within a year. A safety assessment would take a long time to put together, probably the year, but a safety plan and procedures to ensure that those are being followed, that's something that we can do, because that's something that we've had to do over and over and over again over the past few years on the fly, right? So
Right.
how about taking advantage of not having a crisis to create one that we do all the time?
So then what I'll say is to that is maybe we add safety plan. How about that, Ms. Cassidy?
Hello. Yeah, that's
There we
exactly
go.
what I was about to say.
Can I
So we
ask
can-
about that?
Yep. Is
Are
that
we
Mr.
saying in all areas? Because I agree in both areas. I'd like to see it done in both areas. I'd like to see us assessing the safety of our buildings in terms of the health and safety, as well as the safety of our buildings in terms of, you know, protecting our kids.
Structural safety. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, structural safety, but also safety in terms of outside intruders or anything like that,
I agree. Those are two excellent places to
which we can
start.
work on, as you said.
Yes.
We can develop plans to assess and see how are we doing right now and where can we make immediate improvements and where do we need additional resources to make greater improvements.
Love it.
So what would we want to call this? We have safety plans, but I want to put in parentheses those two areas. So I heard structural, and then what would be the other one?
How about operational?
Okay. Anybody else?
But let's work on it. We have an idea what we mean. I agree with you exactly how we want to identify them. I will give you two the first shot at trying to define them. And
Okay.
then, we can see if it works for us. But we all
right.
understand there's the sort of health and safety of the buildings and the environment that the staff and the students are working in. And then there is the protecting the staff and students from, outsiders and intruders that may be there with bad and evil intent.
So what I have, Ms. Casimir, is safety plan, parentheses, structural / operational. Now we can
That's
work.
exactly what I put down. Yep.
Okay. We'll work the words, me and the superintendent, and we'll bring it back. All right. The other one that I see on the bottom that I think can definitely go under there is communications, board communications and community communications. That's something that's already a part of the superintendent's evaluation, but that can build on levels of communication. But that's also something that's a measurable goal in a sense, because we see her in the community, but we also see her relationship with the board. So those are things that could be built on, but also too, it's something that the community can say, we see this, we know this. So that's one that we can add. Anybody else thoughts on that one? Ms. Casimir, I know.
Well, I just see that there's like a parentheses, branding and marketing relationships / community relations. Is that still up under communication, board, community, and parents?
I would say yes.
Okay, so put that whole thing up under. Okay, got it.
I just said communications because of it's a lot of stuff that goes in there.
Got it. Okay.
I was the person that put the parentheses pieces in there, Ms. Casimir.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm doing it right.
Yep. No, you're good.
I thought those were things you'd want to see, so I went ahead and put those in there.
All right, so let's edit, and we're going to add that as number 3. Okay. All right, it's added. Now let's look and see what else we can add under there that we know that are measurable for the superintendent evaluation. Anyone else? Okay.
That's where the family engagement piece is, correct?
Say it again.
That's where the family engagement piece is, correct?
Yes.
Oh, so family engagement is within that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll erase family engagement because I actually put that as an extra bullet point.
Okay. Yes. So measurable. I mean, of course, making sure everybody spends their money, and that's always a no-brainer. But I think we need to add something like, make sure they're actually having their PAC meetings, and that could be achieved through encouraging your principals to make sure they're holding their meetings and communicating, and then they could basically prove that out to you by having email communications between them and their PAC leaders trying to set up the meeting. So the effort is shown, even though if the result is not achieved, you still got the effort piece, that the effort was made to in fact hold meetings and work with the parent leader, because we've got PACs that are all complete, but sometimes they're not communicating. Some principals do better than others, but the overall goal, because we all know parental involvement is probably the number one predictor of student success outside of the educator.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we still have the 3 under there. Are we okay to move on to teacher retention and recruitment? Okay, I hear no objections. So we'll move to teacher retention and recruitment. Now, the first one that I definitely thought will go under there is, I think we talked about diversity within staff. I don't remember who said this one, but I know we can word this a little bit better to capture whatever the person was trying to say. What do we think about that?
I got a question for the superintendent. Is this getting to be a bit too much for an evaluation and stretching too thin? Because
I think that even with the fiscal, strategic, and community collaboration communication, we've got a whole lot.
We do.
So if there is a need to add a piece for teacher retention and recruitment, my preference would be to put it under the strategic plan.
Okay.
Because that's something that we'll be working on for the next 5 years.
Okay. Anyone else thoughts on that? That's not a bad idea. Ms. Casimir?
I think it's an excellent idea. It's just, I agree with you, Ms. Brown. The wording should probably be a little bit different.
Okay. Oh, Dr. Lev, we can work on the wording.
But we'll just put it under there for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
All
I'm
right.
gonna move it. I'm gonna put it under there now.
Okay.
All right. So we're just gonna move it as its own bullet away, right? We're removing it as its own bullet.
What is it we're removing as?
Oh, is that what we're doing?
So what I'm asking is, Dr. Levy suggested added teacher retention and recruitment under the strategic plan. So the strategic plan is a bullet by itself, where we had teacher recruitment as a bullet by itself now. So we're removing that. So it won't be 4 goals now. Right now it's 3. Until we finish out the rest of them. So the other one we have is
that's right. Okay, so
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you now. Because teacher retention and recruitment is a goal, is one of the bullet points. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm back with you now.
Right. So now we're removing it as a goal because it's going to go under the strategic plan. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question about that, though.
Go ahead.
Are we, when Dr. Levy David, when you were saying that it's going to be a part of strategic planning, which I understand. On the other hand, that's not going to sort of put it off because it's an immediate problem.
It's not going to put it off at all.
Teacher
recruitment and retention is something that we will have to work on every single year, and we'll have to have metrics for how we're improving that year after year. Yeah. And how we're also, because I'm also looking at the whole, diversity within staff. How do we recruit more diverse staff? So those are all pieces that will be part of the recruitment and retention plan. And that piece will be part of our larger strategic plan.
Well, and I get that. And I see that we've already taken, in the presentation of the new collective bargaining agreement, you addressed the issue of, with the new starting pay, being able to, use that for recruitment. But the retention part of that expression is, we are still hemorrhaging teachers as we have for many, many, many years. And we want to make sure that we stop the loss of teachers too. So that's the part that I want to make sure that we're addressing as quickly as possible too. So I know that we've taken steps already to address the recruitment part of that, but the retention part of that, I'm concerned we need to address right away too.
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so let's look down at the bottom and see. So now that we've removed teacher retention and recruitment as a bullet point on its own, the last one is community collaborations and communication. Now, we sound like we've already said this, which we kind of have, in one of the, and under strategic plan, that's under strategic plan. Now, is there anything else that needs to be added under community collaborations / communications, or we can just put it back and it goes right back under strategic plan, which leaves Dr. Levy with 3 goals instead of, is it 3 goals now? 2 goals. Because if we remove it,
Right. Hold on. Let's back up a second.
Okay.
The creation of the strategic plan or progress thereof is one evaluative point. Correct?
Right.
The second evaluative point is family engagement, some whatever the bullet was for that one. Correct?
No.
Okay, Joe, hold on. So I'm gonna start from the top. The first goal that we have is the long-term fiscal goal. That's 1, and there's
Okay,
2
fiscal,
bullet.
correct.
There's 2 bullet points under that. Then we have strategic plan, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 under that.
Okay.
That family engagement is inside of the strategic plan. It's not a standalone
Okay.
bullet. Got it?
Yes. So there's
Okay.
2. So there's no other subheadings. Because when you said 2, it's like I know we discussed way more than 2. So the subheading.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the big header.
All right, got
All
it,
right.
got it. Because 2 is like, okay, we can't evaluate on 2, but yes,
Right.
we can divide it on 1A, 2, 1B,
Here
1C,
you go.
2A, 2A. Okay, thank you.
All right. So then I'm going to bring back the last one that we had as a standalone goal is community collaboration / communications. Now, do we want to continue to have that as a standalone goal? Or is there something on the bottom of these bullet points that we haven't addressed that needs to be addressed? And that can be a new bullet point for the superintendent.
Did we put the social emotional health, the curriculum goals, all under strategic plan?
Nope. Those are just sitting there. Now, those can go
I
under.
know at the meeting we did. That's why I'm asking, did we do it here now? I missed
No.
the sort of
No,
shuffle.
Yes. No,
earlier.
we didn't do anything with them yet. These are still at the bottom. They don't have a header to go underneath. Now the superintendent did say that most of these bottom bullet points will fit under the strategic plan. My hope is that, are we going to evaluate her on 2 and then they have multiple little bullet points underneath? Or are we going to evaluate her on 3 and add 1 more? So like, what else would that other one be? Is what my
I
question.
think sorry to butt in. But I think the strategic plan is so it's going to be very thorough.
Mhm.
So evaluating on those 2 items, the fiscal part and the strategic plan, sorry. I think in my opinion, that's sufficient because you can have in the plan all these sub goal or these goals and objectives, and I don't think having a third goal, standalone goal,
Mhm.
will take away anything. It's just gonna, I think, be a lot more work, quite frankly. And
Okay.
that work is gonna already be in the plan. So I think we just leave it as, in my opinion, two standalone goals.
Okay.
But I'm open to suggestions as well.
All right. Anyone else?
Where did we stick board communications?
That's under the strategic plan.
Yeah, no, I think that one as in of itself, as it is, like board communications relations, as that is actually a whole header in
The report. Yeah. The
that
last
is
one.
actually a whole header in every evaluation that's recommended by I forget the name of the superintendents and CABE collaborative that come up with this CAPS or something like that. That's one of the major bullet points that's always actually been included. So I think that's something that could stand alone in as of itself.
I actually would agree with that because we also have, to Ms. Casimir's point, when we talk about the parents and engaging and branding and marketing, a lot of that in itself can be its own, but as long as we don't lose that parent part, which
Right.
is underneath the parental district support, that can,
Right.
in there.
Yeah, that's why I also think the parent piece could be also a separate one without making it any larger because everything's going to be in the strategic plan anyway. And as a as we're discussing this today, we're talking about board relations. I'd like to offer we start measuring board relations as of today, going forward.
Okay. Ms. Casimir, what do you think about taking communications out and giving it its own standalone goal?
I think that is a good idea.
Okay. So that will give us
I would
three-
agree.
Who's that?
Jennifer.
Okay. Yes, Jennifer. Okay. And if you look back, Jennifer, you haven't seen one yet, but if any of the board members who evaluated board members, board members, the superintendent, that is a goal in itself. And I think the route that Dr. Levy David is going, I think that gives her an opportunity to really show and express what she's been doing with all of her different communication efforts within the district, but also with the board. So we're going to take that out. We'll take it out and we'll give it its own header. And I think the words and the parentheses says enough. I don't think we need to add any drop downs because it speaks for itself.
Right.
Okay.
Ms. Brown, are we taking the community collaboration communication, which was its own header? Are we putting that up under strategic plan or setting that to the side? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what was going on with that.
I think the one that we just talked about, communications and board, is that.
Okay, so then I could just erase it and replace it with, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it is all of that, the communication, because when we talk about what she's doing out in the community and what she's doing on the board, it's all the same thing.
Gotcha, okay.
For that goal.
I think you just merged them, Ms. Kessinger.
Yep. So we'll take that one out. All right. Now we have 3 goals. I'm going to read them again. The first one is the fiscal long-term plan. There's 2 bullet points under that. The next one is the strategic plan. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 under that. And then we have, nope, I'm lying. We don't have 4 under that. We have 3 because I have to take communications out. So that's 3 under that one. And then the last one is communications. Communications in parentheses, all the good stuff that we just said. So there's three actionable things that we can evaluate the superintendent on. Now, before we look and remove anything else from the smaller bullet points, is there anything else we believe needs to go in either bullet?
Are you asking if there's more from the bottom of the list that need to go under the headings?
Yep. Is there any more on the bottom?
Yeah, I think the social and emotional health and the curriculum goals need to go up under the strategic plan.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree.
I agree with that.
Okay, good. I would agree with that as well. Dr. Levy David, what do you think?
I agree as well.
Okay, so I've added that. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 under strategic plan. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm counting 5. Can you
Oops.
read over the 4, Ms. Brown?
Yes, parental district support, safety plan, structural and operational, teacher and retention and recruitment, social, emotional and health, curriculum goals. You're right. I missed the teacher and retention one.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure I'm on point here.
And
okay, so
the ESL, did we decide we were going to put that somewhere?
that's a good one too.
Skills identify for the way it reads here is skills identify for ESL. ESL support should follow child and diversification.
This was Miss Baptiste Perez. I probably didn't word it the way she said it, but like I try to capture as much as possible.
Yeah, I had it on my notes. I'm looking at my notes from the meeting.
Okay.
It on my notes next to staff, but I wasn't sure where we wanted to put it.
Dr. Levy David?
If I could make a recommendation, it would be to take curriculum goals and also the ESL and put them under instructional goals. Because that way I can capture, we have ESL, we have some curriculum goals with literacy, science, math, and that way I can capture all of those and not leave anything out.
Thoughts, anybody about that suggestion?
That's fine.
Ms. Casimir, Mr. Sokolovic,
Agree.
Ms. Jennifer?
Agree.
Okay.
Agree.
All right, so that's what we'll do. We'll put those there.
Yes, I agree, but how is that gonna look now, Ms. Brown?
So
Is it under curriculum goals or?
So it's a point within a point. That makes sense. So curriculum goals has, like, we want to say, has its own point of a focus for
Right.
in the services that we're looking to be provided. Does that make sense? Or am I saying that wrong?
No, I understand that part. So this bullet that says skills identify for ESL, where does that go? Does it go up under curriculum goals, or as like the same line as curriculum goals? Like this is all one.
Can we give it a
bullet point.
slash? Can we give it a slash?
Like a slash? Yeah, that's what I was asking. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay.
As I understood it, there was going to be a slight rewrite
Yes, it has to be fixed.
of instructional goals that was going to include the ESL and the curricular goals. And that the two authors were going to rewrite it for us.
Yes, that is correct. All right. Now, I'm looking at everything. I think we've captured everything from the bottom that we said we would include.
I think so.
Wait, there is one. I don't know who brought this one up. This was accountability with community partners and programs. Now, I don't know I kind of think it was more so of like seeing what partners we are allowing within our buildings and what partnerships we are building with community partners, if I could be correct, if I am correct. Does that make sense, or is that ringing any bells for anybody?
Yeah, can that go under communication or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Do we need to make it a point, or it's kind of like, that this is something that needs to go in there versus making it a point on its own?
Well, I think you should move it up there now so that when y'all are rewriting it, it is kept incorporated into what you're writing.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so again, we'll defer to the authors when y'all rewrite it, but I think that it's a nuance that we want to make sure gets included.
Okay.
Right. Right. Just a cautionary note on community partners and accountability with community partners.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sounds like Dr. Levy-David will be accountable to outside groups, which is not, in fact, what we're trying to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we have community groups, we often have community groups that we work with, but sometimes our actions and the best interest of the district sometimes misaligns with what the community groups want, and then they come out quite viralitic after the superintendent, as we saw. And with the beginning of the spending ESSER funds, we had one group that said we didn't include them when they were well included in the plan and in the conversations, but then the narrative became we didn't tell them nothing. And if we just go based on the community partners' dissatisfaction with the superintendent's communication, that would be unfair.
Correct. Well, what we could do, Dr. Lev, we'll word it, we'll fix it. It doesn't have to stay as accountability. I'm not sure who mentioned that one, but we can fix it where it makes more sense that if she's held to that goal or that part of that communication goal, that it's fair. So we could definitely fix it.
Right, Ms. Brown, because it could even go under one where communication says board, community, and parents. Comma, community partners and programs. Like it could all go under there together. But yeah, you guys can figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to go under there, and I agree with what Mr. Skolovic said, that it's not that we're accountable to an outside group. We have these relations, but we have to live up to our standards.
Correct.
What's in the relationship, not theirs. So, I agree with that. You guys write it. You guys write it in a way that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So if I'm not wrong, that is everything.
Ms. Brown, one more thing. The one last thing I have to say about this bullet that says recurrent and retention of staff. Can we just add that up under the strategic plan where it says teacher retention and recruitment, can it say teacher/staff retention and recruitment, or would it be
That's,
separate?
that was what we discussed a moment ago, and I don't think
Yes.
recurrent was supposed to be right. It's supposed to be recruitment and retention of staff. So I
So
think that's just
teacher/staff, that's what I, okay,
and
got
so
it.
that's what we were discussing a minute ago. That would be incorporated into the.
Oh, no, I
strategic-
was listening. I didn't hear that. Okay, my
No,
bad.
that's
All
where
right.
we talked about, they've already taken steps on recruitment, but we also want to do with retention.
Got
So
it.
/staff, got it.
Got it.
Okay.
Staff. All right, so that's all of them. That's all of them. I'm gonna read them down. Ms. Casimir, just be my extra. Let me know if I missed anything or anybody else. All right, so we are now moving to 3 goals. The first one is fiscal long-term plan for the district. Under that is 2 points, fiscal gaps in budget, procurement of funds. The second one is projection of ESSER and ISF funds term plan. So we'll fix the language. The second goal is a strategic plan, which is parental district support areas, safety plans, which is structural/operational. The next one is teacher/staff retention and recruitment. The next one is social emotional health. The third one, not the third one, the next one is curriculum goals/skills identified for ESL, and then everything that goes in the parentheses. The last goal is communication. So that includes board, community, and parents. And then we have everything that goes into parentheses, which is branding, marketing, relationships, community relationships. And then the last part is accountability with community partners and programs. We will fix the word accountability, add another word, but that gives us our 3 goals. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any
Huge.
other thoughts? Opinions, all are welcome. All right. So what I will do, what the superintendent and I will do is I will copy and paste these and I will send them back to the superintendent. And then when we meet, her and I will work on changing or tweaking the language before we present it to the board as a vote to add these as her goals. Any thoughts, concerns on that?
Yes, can I ask that, if I understood, just to clarify, y'all are gonna rewrite this as a draft?
Yes.
and
So
then
right now,
Send it out to us as a draft for a review by us.
yes.
Okay, that's all I meant. I just wanted to make sure that, so we'll all take one last look at it before we finalize whatever we do.
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone
Yep.
else?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm just so thrilled of how this meeting went. This is great. Thank you.
Good, good. Everyone has their strong suits, so I'm really happy to see everyone added in their thoughts. I'm excited to see where this will go, and we'll work on this in the next week or so. If it's not finished on my turn, we'll pass it over to whoever's next, and they can finalize all the things that needed for this. All right. So if there's no other questions or concerns, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Sokolovic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Traber. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carries. Everyone have a good night and thank you, and look forward to an email from Dr. Levy and I.
Good night.
night.
Thank you, Dr. Levy David.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.